to give opportunity. If we don't give opportunity, how are they going to blossom? How are they going to bloom and develop their skills and talents? So as leaders, as adults, this is our duty, this is our responsibility. At the organizational level, we must also have opportunity for these kind of things. The Buddha wanted you to do these things, not just pray, 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 light candles or chant, but all these kind of activities to develop the human potential. That is what the Buddha wanted to do. Personal self-development. Because he himself developed himself. Nobody came and developed him. From his own effort, from his own experience, from his own energy, his thinking, he went searching, and he discovered everything himself. Like that, we must encourage and give the support. So while talking on support, a very big responsibility we have as adults and also as leaders of organization, we must provide all the opportunity for our children to learn English. Not because I have some special admiration for the English people, but because that is the reality of the world today. If our children want to progress and be competitive and to be able to go ahead, they must learn English. Now a little child cannot tell Papa, I want to learn English. Impossible. Impossible. This is who will say impossible also. We as parents, we as adults, leaders, must provide the opportunity. The child is going to Mandarin school. No use teaching him Dhamma in Mandarin. He already knows Mandarin. Teach him the Dhamma in English. So when I say this, oh, we don't have books, oh, we don't have teachers, oh, we don't have this, oh, we don't have that. These are excuses. I said, okay, I will produce the books and we will train the teachers. Of course, we won't be perfect when you start, but slowly we can improve. If all of us put our resources, put our talents together, we can produce more books. Give me 5 years, give me 10 years, and if each one of you can do something, we will be able to solve this problem. Otherwise, we will just keep on giving excuses. So for example, no time, we produce this book, ABC, using the Buddha's method of teaching on top of that. This is very important. The Buddha was the greatest teacher, and he used some fantastic methods. Even the modern education system is not using it. And that is why education is not successful today. The education system is not successful. They are having all kinds of reviews and reviews and reviews. Because whether you are outstation or not, you still come. But today some say, I don't need them. Because they are taught not to go. This is nothing to do with your new religion. We must not allow this to happen. Now, there is a very old Chinese story. And this story was told many years ago during Confucian time, because Confucius emphasized filial piety. After Buddhism went to China, it became even stronger, because the Buddha also taught about taking care of parents, because your parents are gods in your house. Your parents are the gods in your house. And whatever you do, you cannot repay your parents. So the Buddha taught this. So in China, very long ago, piety became very strong. But also they introduced many stories, many lessons. We need to do the same thing for our younger generation. The reason why these things are happening, because we didn't pass on this. We also ignore. We also neglected. So the younger generation, when they listen to all the other people, cannot respond in the right way. And they fall. They change. There is an old story which says, once, always this story goes like this, but not because the lady is at fault, but so happened the story goes like that. A man married a young, pretty girl, and so they had a son. This boy was staying around with the father and with the mother. And then when he married, after some time, the wife started saying, I say, nuisance your father and mother here, so much, so difficult to take care, always complaining, until he cannot stand already. He says, take your parents somewhere else, we cannot live like this. So happened the story, but not all women are like that, please. Not all women are like that. Sometimes women are more closer to, as far as I know, more closer. But that's how the story goes. Then, one day, he made a basket. It was in the house. He put the basket and he wanted to take the papa and mama to the forest and leave the papa and mama in the forest. His son saw this and asked, Papa, what are you doing? Where are you taking grandpa and grandma? Then the papa said, I am taking him, grandpa and grandma, and going and leaving them in the forest. Then the child was shocked. The child said, okay Papa, you do that, but don't forget to bring back the basket. Then the papa asked, why? No, when I grow up, I want to use the basket to take you and mama and put in the forest. The father threw the basket away. He said, this is definitely not what I am supposed to do. That is the culture, that is the tradition that was taught many centuries ago. We need to teach all these things all over again. We stopped at the point where we focused on the erosion of filial piety in Chinese society. But this is not only in Chinese society, all societies. But what I am very sad, although I am not a Chinese, is that how is it possible that this can happen when it is so much in your culture, it's so much in your tradition, in your history, your heritage, and your claim to be Chinese, you must have filial piety. If you don't have filial piety, you cannot call yourself a Chinese. It is in your blood, as I said. And what have the governments done? They passed legislation. That is not the way. Just passing legislation is not going to solve the problem. The problem is there was no legislation before. People used to follow filial piety as a natural thing. Why should you have legislation? So the problem is that we have not continued to teach this. We didn't pass this to the next generation, and therefore it is slowly losing, and over time we will disappear. We don't want that to happen. So what did we went through all of this, what was the Buddha's first lesson? You know the Buddha got enlightenment, right? And what was his first lesson? Anybody want to guess? What was the Buddha's first lesson? What did the Buddha teach the first lesson? Maybe Professor Chen can help. What was the first lesson? Four Noble Truths. Very good. Anybody else? Any other lesson? Linda? Where's Linda? Any other lesson? What did the Buddha teach the first thing? Huh? No. Professor Chen is right. The first sermon is the Four Noble Truths. But I asked the first lesson. The first lesson is gratitude. What was the first lesson? What was the first thing the Buddha did after getting enlightenment?
stood straight, worshipped the Bodhi tree, and paid respect
to the Bodhi tree for 1 week. The Buddha paid respect to the Bodhi tree. That is the lesson. This Bodhi tree, a tree, gave him protection, gave him shelter, gave him all the comforts for him to meditate. And out of gratitude, he respects the Bodhi tree. That's why we always respect the Bodhi tree. Now this is referred to as Kattano Katta Vedi. Kattano Katta Vedi. The Buddha's first lesson is Kattano Katta Vedi. And in many of his sermons, he keeps on emphasizing the importance of gratitude. If we call ourselves human beings, we must develop this sense of gratitude. It is this teaching of gratitude that went to China and made filial piety even stronger. It was there, Confucian tradition was there in terms of ancestor worship and filial piety. But with the Buddha's teaching, it became very entrenched in Chinese society. And in many of his sutras, we can cite so many sutras. In the Mangala Sutta, he very clearly stated, Mata Pitu Upattana. Mata Pitu Upattana. The highest blessing that you can get is taking care of your father and mother. You are duty bound to take care of your father and mother. They are the ones that brought you to this world, and they sacrificed so much to bring you up. As we discussed in other programs, the mother risked her life. She risked her life to give birth to the child. Every time a mother gives birth, she runs the risk of death. A mother can die in childbirth. Before it was very common, very common. Today, of course, with modern science, modern medical research, doctors are able to cope with all the problems that can happen in childbirth. So the infant mortality is less. Even after childbirth, many mothers and babies die because of various complications. But the important thing to remember is giving birth to a child is not simple. It is not simple. It is a great sacrifice. And if our mothers have given birth to us, we cannot afford to ignore, neglect, and forget all of the sacrifices. The father also made a lot of sacrifices to bring us up. So the Buddha's very important teaching is to always respect, honor, and take care of your father and mother. Even if you were to put your father on your right shoulder and your mother on the left shoulder and look after them for 100 years, you will never be able to repay them. That is how the Buddha emphasized, stressed the importance of gratitude to your parents. For 100 years, even if you take care. The only way, he says, you can repay all that you owe to your parents is by showing them the path of the Dhamma. Let them also benefit from the Dhamma. The greatest thing that you can do for your parents is also enable them to benefit from the Dhamma. Apart from that, you have to nurse them, you have to look after them, you have to feed them, you have to take care of them in their old age when they are not well. That is a duty. In another sutta, the Kalyana Sutta, the Buddha emphasized 4 important categories of people that you have to pay respect and honor. First, of course, all the Buddhas, including himself, which is natural, because the Buddha is the teacher and we all respect and honor the Buddha as the enlightened teacher. Apart from that, you have Arahants, second category. Third category are those who have become disciples of the Buddha. That means the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. We refer to collectively as Mahasangha. And the fourth one, he says, your papa and your mama. Mata Pitu. You must take care of them. So this is very entrenched in Buddhist literature, Buddhist scriptures, Buddhist history. It's full of aspects of how the mother takes care of the baby and the child. How the mother is prepared to even sacrifice her own life for her child. And there is, just now I showed you the Angulimala story, how the mother went to the jungle where there are wild animals deep in the jungle to save her son Angulimala from being captured and killed by the king's soldiers. That is the way the mother feels for a child. And in many of the sutras, the Buddha refers to a mother's love as one who would sacrifice her life for the son or daughter. And in another very true, real story is how King Bimbisara was so loving and forgiving of his son Ajatasattu. Even when he was a small boy, he took care of him. It's a beautiful story. Hopefully I'll finish the story in a couple of months, where a father's love for the son is boundless, unremitting love for the son. So we have many incidents and aspects of gratitude in Buddhist history, Buddhist culture and Buddhist tradition. Aside from the teachings of the Buddha, even if we just think for a moment, just reflect for a moment, there are many reasons for us to be grateful. First is, we should be grateful that we are born human beings. You are very lucky to be born human beings. There are many other beings who are born in woeful states. There are beings who are born as animals. There are beings born in other realms, suffering. So much of suffering taking place. But you, as human beings, you have a great opportunity to have a good life. Because you are able to think, you are able to develop yourself. And it is a blessing. It is a great fortune to be born human. You must always remember that you are very fortunate to be born human. Not everybody is born human. But because you're born human, all the more reason why you should live like proper human beings and live a purposeful, meaningful life. That's one. Second point is that many of us are very fortunate compared to other human beings. Even among human beings, we are very fortunate, some of us. And we should be grateful for that. Sometimes you hear people complain, I don't have this. They have a car, they say, I want a Mercedes-Benz. They have a house, they say they want a bungalow. Can never be satisfied. The Buddha taught us to be contented. If you keep chasing like that, you want always something more than what you have, you will never be grateful and also you will never be satisfied. So be contented, be grateful for what you have. There are millions millions of people who are dying from starvation. There are millions of people even no shelter, no roof, living on the streets. If you go to India and many of the poor countries, there are many human beings like us, but they are in very great hardship. There are so many who can't even have meals, proper meals. So we must be grateful. I remember even as a child, I remember reading somewhere on a plaque, I complained because I had no shoes until I saw a man with no feet. You complain you don't have shoes, but there are people without feet. So always feel that you are not that unfortunate, but be fortunate. You are fortunate and be contented with it. Then the third point is a very important point. This is something that you must consider yourself as being very fortunate. It's a blessing that you have the opportunity to learn the Dhamma, to understand the Dhamma, and practice the Dhamma. Not everybody has this opportunity. Not everybody is able to benefit from this. You are very lucky. Treasure it, relish it, and do justice by following. Be grateful for all those people who provide the facilities for you to learn the Dhamma, to make it possible for you all to come together, to listen to Dhamma talks, to read Dhamma books, to listen to Professor Chang. All these people like Mr. Chang and Doctor and everybody else, they go a long way. They do a lot of things to make this possible. It is not simple. But we have to now feel grateful and acknowledge and give our support. That is the only way we can pay back. By supporting them, by doing whatever we can do, they also will find the courage, the strength, the energy, the confidence to do even more. So always feel that you are very fortunate to have these opportunities and be grateful for the organization, be grateful for those in the organization who have made this possible. So apart from your parents and apart from your teachers, these people are very important in terms of expressing your gratitude in real terms. Now, we can talk about gratitude and keep on talking and talking about gratitude. But what do we do? What do we do in everyday life apart from all that I have discussed? How do we pass this on to the next generation? How can we inculcate, how can we instill this aspect of gratitude, particularly filial piety, to the next generation? As I started off, I said it is by practice. Buddhism, the Dhamma, the Buddha Dhamma is practice. You have to practice. And the Buddha had taught a very good practice, an excellent practice for inculcating filial piety in children. And that is the culture that was there in China. Many centuries ago, this was followed in China. Of course, it was followed in India and Sri Lanka and other countries. But slowly, it disappeared. And now people are not even aware that this can be done. And that is every day, daily. As I said, the Buddha said, even if you put your mother on your right shoulder and the father on the left shoulder and look after them for 100 years, you cannot repay back. But while you are alive, you can do this. And it is our duty as adults, our duty as parents, to instill this in our children. And that is how we can continue and reinforce and make sure that the next generation will also follow our tradition of filial piety. And that is Mata Pita Vandana. Mata Pita Vandana. It means worshipping, honoring, respecting your mother and father. Always remember, the Buddha referred to the mother first. Always remember. And this is unique in Buddhist culture, very unique in the Buddha's teaching. The European method is my father and my mother. You never say my mother and my father in English. All the European language always my father and my mother. But the Buddha's teaching always, always my mother and my father. Because he places the mother even higher than the father. Why? Why is that? Because we are all born of